My hypocritical manager made life hell for us juniors while pretending to be sweet. Little does she know, I'm aware of her secret, and it's going to ruin her life. So this has been building up for a while, and I need to get this off my chest. I'm a junior employee at a mid-sized company, and my manager has been a piece of work from the start. She acts all sweet and nice, like the perfect boss, but behind closed doors, total nightmare. From the outside, you would think she's one of the most caring, understanding managers in the world. She compliment you on your work, give you encouragement, and make it seem like she's genuinely invested in your success. But here's the catch, it's all for show. Every time we're in a meeting or I catch her talking to the higher-ups, she's this model of professionalism, oozing that fake I care about my team vibe. She say things like, I just want to make sure everyone has the support they need and we're a family here. It's enough to make you think she's some kind of work saint. But the moment the door closes behind her, the mask comes off and a totally different person emerges. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The same woman who acts so sweet suddenly becomes the biggest backstabber in the office. She loves giving us juniors all the unnecessary tasks, stuff that's clearly beneath her but somehow gets dumped on our plates. Like 1 minute we're all busy with our regular work, and the next, we're getting hit with random errands or administrative chores that have nothing to do with our actual roles. For example, I've had to run errands like grabbing coffee for her and her whole team or making last-minute adjustments to documents that she could have easily handled herself. But nope, that's now on me. It's like she's using us to do all the stuff that doesn't look good on her, while she glides along pretending to be busy. If there's a task that will make her look like the good boss in front of her superiors, she's all for it. She delegated to the team without hesitation, hoping it'll look like she's spreading the work around and being a team player. But when it's something important, when there's a real issue that needs to be dealt with, she's mysteriously too busy or tied up in meetings, so guess what? It gets pushed onto us. But behind closed doors, it's a whole different story. That sweet, caring manager persona disappears the second she starts gossiping about the team. She talks crap about everyone, and I mean everyone, co-workers, people from other departments, even people she's supposedly close to. It's like she gets some weird satisfaction from tearing people down when they're not around. And she's always acting like she's the only one who really gets it, constantly undermining the rest of us with snide comments and condescending remarks. If she has a bad day or things don't go the way she wants, she put the blame squarely on someone else's shoulders, usually one of the juniors. Meanwhile, she plays the part of the perfect little angel to our faces, acting like she's the one who's always calm, collected, and looking out for everyone. She has this ability to act like nothing phases her, like she's on top of everything. But when the doors are closed, she's the first one to throw her team under the bus, making herself look like the savior and talking about all the ways the team is falling short. It's honestly exhausting. She's creating this toxic, double-edged atmosphere where no one knows who to trust. And while all of this is happening, she's also positioning herself as a mentor to a select few, making sure they see her as the ideal leader, while everyone else gets left in the dust. It's like a constant mind game, and honestly, I've had enough. But here's the kicker, I know something she doesn't think anyone knows. A little birdie aka co-worker who used to be close with her let me in on a huge secret. She's been having an affair with the director. Yep, you read that right. I didn't want to believe it at first. I honestly thought there was no way someone in a professional environment could be so reckless, especially with something like that. But after seeing a few things, hearing a few details, and watching the way they interacted, it all started to make sense. The signs were subtle at first, just little things that didn't seem like much. She'd always accidentally run into him in the hallways or show up to meetings at the same time, even if she didn't need to be there. Sometimes they'd exchange these strange, knowing glances when they thought no one was looking. And whenever the director was in the office, she'd be the one to go out of her way to get him his coffee run little errands for him, or be extra helpful in meetings. I noticed that the more she did these things, the more she was praised in front of the higher-ups. But whenever anyone else did the same, it was ignored or downplayed. Then there were the times when the director would take extra interest in her work. He'd single her out in front of the team, praising her contributions or giving her special projects. It was clear he was looking out for her, and not in the usual boss-employee way. But at the time, I just chalked it up to office politics. It wasn't until a coworker spilled the beans and mentioned a couple of times they'd seen them leave the office together late at night that I started to piece everything together. At first, I dismissed it, but the more I thought about it, the more things began to fall into place. I don't know how long this affair has been going on, but it explains so much about the weird power dynamics around here. The director's behavior made sense now. His decisions were so clearly biased in her favor, and no one else ever seemed to get the same treatment. Meanwhile, she was treating everyone else, especially the juniors, like personal slaves. She'd pile all this extra, meaningless work on us, then turn around and act like we should be grateful for the opportunity to learn and grow. But behind the scenes, she was cozying up to the guy who was pulling all the strings, using her relationship with him to climb the corporate ladder while the rest of us did the grunt work. It's honestly infuriating to see this play out in front of my eyes. She gets away with everything from taking credit for work she didn't do, to skipping out on responsibilities, to bullying people into doing her bidding. She's practically untouchable because of her connection to the director. And we're stuck in this weird position, constantly trying to prove ourselves while she breezes through, reaping all the rewards for doing the bare minimum. It's like we're nothing but pawns in her game, and it's all because of who she's sleeping with. It's just so hard to sit back and watch all of this happening, knowing that no matter how hard we work, no matter how much we contribute, it's never going to be enough. She's going to keep riding the coattails of that affair while we keep getting dumped on. And honestly, it makes me want to burn the whole system down. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. She's not just taking advantage of the situation. She's completely abusing her position, and we're the ones left to pick up the pieces. I just don't know how much longer I can watch this go on now. I'm just biding my time. I'm not going to be the one to blow the whistle for now, but trust me, I've got all the receipts. Every little piece of evidence, every shady comment, every suspicious interaction, it's all saved and ready to go. If she keeps pushing me and my coworkers around, she won't see it coming when I decide to ruin her little bubble of happiness. I know that once I pull the trigger, there's no going back, so I'm playing this smart. I've already been gathering intel for a while now, and it's just a matter of waiting for the right moment. She thinks she's untouchable, that her affair with the director has put her above everyone else, and that no one would dare challenge her. Well, let her keep thinking that. The more confident she gets, the more mistakes she's going to make. Every little slip up, every time she oversteps, it's just adding more fuel to the fire. But here's the thing, I've been watching her closely, and I can already tell she's starting to feel the pressure. She's getting sloppier with her work, more defensive when people question her, and more desperate to cover up her tracks. If she keeps pushing the team like this, she's not going to realize just how much people are starting to see through her act. There are other people in the office who are fed up with the way she treats us, and trust me, they're not blind to what's going on. Some of them might not say it out loud, but they're with me. I've got a few things in mind that'll make her life hell if she doesn't back off. It won't just be a simple outing of the affair either. No, I'm planning something that'll hit her where it hurts, professionally and personally. I know the right people who can help get the ball rolling, and the director isn't exactly the golden boy everyone thinks he is either. His reputation is going to be a big part of this, and once it all comes out, no one will be able to look at either of them the same way. She thinks she can keep playing the game, pulling the strings from behind the scenes, but no one is untouchable. Maybe she should have thought twice before treating us like pawns in her little game. Because once I've had enough, I'm pulling the curtain back on everything, and the fallout will be massive. The drama is about to get real, and I can't wait to watch it unfold. Update: things just got even worse with my manager, and I'm one step closer to exposing her. Okay, so a lot has happened since my original post, and I need to spill the tea. First of all, let me just say, I did not expect this situation to escalate the way it has, but here we are. So after my last post, I decided to keep my head down and gather more evidence on my manager. I didn't want to rush into anything, especially since I didn't know how deep her web of lies went. But guess what? The more I watched her, the more I realized how arrogant she's become. She started pushing us harder than ever, dumping even more work on the juniors while pretending to be the perfect boss. Honestly, it's like she's just begging for someone to call her out. It's like she's gotten comfortable with her little power trip, thinking she can manipulate everyone around her without consequence. The tasks kept piling up, but it wasn't just that. She started taking credit for things we did, and I could see it. The more work she shoved onto us, the more praise she was getting. She was acting like she was the one working all these extra hours when in reality, she was sitting pretty while we were drowning. And she knew she was getting away with it. The attitude just screamed entitlement. But then, out of nowhere, she started treating one of the other junior employees, let's call him Mike, like absolute garbage. Mike's one of the hardest workers on our team. He's always been super reliable, always going the extra mile. He's also a pretty quiet guy, doesn't cause drama, and keeps his head down. So when she started treating him like dirt, I was honestly shocked. She literally yelled at him in front of the team for something that wasn't his fault. And I mean yelled like she was some kind of drill sergeant. It was so unprofessional and totally unnecessary. She humiliated him in front of everyone over a minor issue that could have easily been resolved with a simple conversation. Mike was visibly shaken by it. He's usually calm and composed, but I could see his face turn red as she tore into him. And the worst part? The rest of us just had to sit there awkwardly watching this happen, too scared to speak up. She immediately went into damage control mode, acting like nothing happened and pretending to care about his well-being. But it was so transparent. Everyone could see how fake it was. That was the last straw for me. I couldn't just stand by and watch this happen anymore. Watching her bully Mike like that made me realize something. This wasn't just about her bad management skills anymore. It was about her abusing her position to manipulate and mistreat people for her own gain. And if she could do that to Mike, what was stopping her from doing it to anyone else? I knew at that moment that I couldn't sit back and let this slide any longer. The lines had been crossed. I didn't know exactly how or when I'd expose her, but I wasn't about to let her get away with it anymore. So now I'm more determined than ever to take action. So I decided to test the waters. I casually brought up the affair with her in front of the director, who's been incredibly hands-off with all of this, but I didn't go into full detail. I just mentioned a rumor I'd heard about her and the director with zero specifics. Her reaction was priceless. She turned bright red and immediately tried to cover it up with some weak excuse, but I could tell she was rattled. And now, I've got her exactly where I want her. Her behavior has gotten worse. She's being even more shady about everything, and it's only a matter of time before she slips up again. I've been quietly talking to some of the other employees who are fed up with her, and we've started comparing notes. Turns out, other people know about the affair too, but they've been too scared to speak up. The best part, I've gathered enough screenshots and information to expose her for everything she is. I've got the dirt on her personal life, some of her shady work practices, and I've even caught her lying about a few things. But I'm still holding off for now. I don't want to go nuclear just yet. I've got a meeting with HR coming up, and I'm planning on using that opportunity to drop a bombshell. I'm hoping they'll at least look into her behavior. but honestly, if they don't do anything, I'm fully prepared to go public. I'm not afraid of the fallout anymore. I'll keep you all posted, but for now, I feel like I'm finally getting the upper hand. Update: the HR meeting went down, and it was even better than I expected. Okay, so the HR meeting went down, and I can't even begin to describe how satisfying it was to watch my manager and the director squirm. Let me break it all down for you. So I went into the meeting with all my evidence, screenshots, some recordings, nothing incriminating, just a few questionable comments and actions, and, of course, all the details about the affair. I wasn't just going to walk in and drop the bomb, though I made sure to play it cool and present things step by step, making sure HR understood exactly what was going on without making it sound like an emotional rant. I didn't want to come off as just venting. I wanted to make sure everything was laid out logically and factually. At first, HR tried to downplay everything, especially the affair. They wanted to focus more on the work-related issues, but I wasn't letting that slide. I laid out how my manager had been unfairly dumping tasks on the juniors, gossiping about people behind their backs, and creating a toxic work environment. I also mentioned how her relationship with the director was creating an obvious power imbalance. And I wasn't the only one with complaints. Their coworkers had already started sharing their frustrations too. The more I spoke, the more I realized just how deep the issues went, and I made sure HR knew they couldn't ignore this any longer. After I dropped the affair bomb, the atmosphere in the room changed completely. The HR rep's face turned pale, and she suddenly got very serious. I could see her trying to process everything. She went from being dismissive to being fully engaged, asking me more questions and taking detailed notes. I guess they had no idea the affair was as well known as it was. They seemed pretty shocked that I had such a detailed account of it. Here's where it gets even better. HR decided to take immediate action. They called in both my manager and the director for a private meeting. I didn't stick around to hear all the details, but I'm guessing things didn't go well for them. The HR rep came back to me later and said that they were launching a full investigation into both of them. Apparently, the director had a history of inappropriate behavior and had received several prior complaints that were either brushed aside or not taken seriously at the time. After they reviewed everything, it became clear that both my manager and the director had crossed several professional lines, and HR made the decision to act swiftly. The fallout was swift and brutal. Within a couple of days, my manager was demoted. She was taken off her managerial position and put into a regular role, something that was a huge step down for her. She's still with the company, but the power she once had is completely gone. She went from being in control of the team to barely being trusted to do basic tasks. You could see the shift in her demeanor. The confidence she once had was replaced with a mix of frustration and humiliation. As for the director, well, it turns out the affair wasn't a one-time thing. He had been involved in these kinds of situations before and had gotten several warnings and complaints as well, but nothing ever came of it. After a full investigation, he was fired for his behavior and breaching company policies. He was escorted out of the building, and the entire company got an email about his termination. It was pretty clear from the tone of the message that HR was putting an end to any further misconduct like this. It's crazy to think how quickly everything unraveled once the truth started coming out. I don't know what will happen next, but I can say this: things have definitely changed around the office. People are talking more openly about the situation, and there's a lot of relief in the air. It's like the weight that my manager and the director had put on everyone just vanished overnight. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm honestly just glad I finally stood up and took action. It feels like the right decision was made, and I couldn't be happier to see them both face the consequences of their actions. After the fallout, the work environment completely shifted. It was like the cloud that had been hanging over the office for months finally lifted. People started coming into the office with a different energy. and it felt like the weight of the toxicity was gone. The juniors, including myself, no longer had to worry about being unfairly burdened with tasks or being treated like we were invisible. The atmosphere was lighter, and you could feel the change in the way everyone interacted. There was less tension, fewer awkward silences, and more genuine collaboration. The gossip and backhanded comments that had been so prevalent before suddenly disappeared. Without my manager's toxic presence, people felt freer to talk openly, share ideas, and give feedback without fear of retribution. We even started getting more recognition for the work we were doing, which was a huge morale boost. It felt like each hour's decision to take action had not just been about punishing two individuals, but about restoring a sense of fairness and respect to the office. What's even better is that, as far as I can tell, no one has a clue who the whistleblower was. Everyone's still trying to figure out how HR found out about the affair, and there's a lot of speculation floating around. Some people have hinted that it was an anonymous tip, but no one knows for sure. I've kept my mouth shut and acted as if I don't know anything. I'm just enjoying the peace and quiet, watching the positive changes unfold. It's kind of nice to sit back and let everyone else connect the dots while I know I was the one who made it all happen. The best part is that no one's come after me or tried to accuse me of anything. My coworkers don't even seem to suspect me. Maybe they're just grateful for the shift in the work environment and are too focused on the changes to care about who was behind it. It feels good to know that, even if they never figure it out, I made a difference. I've managed to stay under the radar while watching things improve around me, and I couldn't be happier with the outcome. Overall, it's like the office finally got a fresh start. The toxic dynamics that had once held us all back are gone, and now we're all just focused on doing our best work in a much healthier, more supportive environment.